All right, guys, what is up? Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to go to the next level with their personal brands. I am your host, Junior Frederick, and I'm joined by the amazing Mr. Bobby Stealth. And today we're going to be talking about branding. All right, now, guys, if you are tuned in live, go ahead and put some flames in the comments. And of course, let us know where you're listening in from. Bobby, how you doing?
Man, Junior, I'm absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And I'm excited to dive in. I don't have anything, to open up with today. Nothing to open up with today except let's grow, man. Let's grow. Let's have a good conversation.
Yeah, I am definitely excited to dive in as well. Before we do that, I do want to send, a few shout outs. I see Bradley, I see Tia. I know we have a lot more people viewing. Don't be shy. Please put those comments in the chat.
Yeah.
Today, Bobby, we're gonna be talking. Actually, let me put this up very early. So, guys, today we actually have a webinar today. So I know, we come on it literally every single day or almost every day, and we're talking about developing your brand, right? Well, this is the opportunity. So there is a free webinar happening tonight. And on that webinar, Shaan will be talking about how he was able to build $1 million brand with literally no email and literally no social media following. And how do I know that? Because I was literally there. So I was there and I was able to look at it firsthand. So guys, check this out. I'm not going to waste any time. If you want to learn the secrets to developing your brand, if you love this show, if you support this show, go ahead and just go over to that link right there. It's a bit.ly link. You should be able to copy it, and we will put that somewhere in the comments very, very soon. But Bobby, essentially, what we'll be talking about today will be focused around this. Like, how do you actually build $1 million brand? How do you actually do that? We're gonna get into that in a minute, maybe breaking down the steps. But most of those steps will actually be steps from Branded Like a Leader because that is literally what Shaan did. Everything he did put it into that course, Branded Like a Leader. And as you know, Bobby, we have so many amazing and phenomenal people going through that program right now. So many people have joined the community in literally the last 30 days. So, guys, don't waste any time, right?
Yeah.
Let's get it. Let's get it. But I believe I see Dr. Michelle. Shout out to you, Dr. Michelle. We will go to a quick break, but once we come back, we're going to be getting into that. So stay tuned. If you want to learn how to build $1 million brand, I'm going to be breaking that down today. All right. So, guys, stay tuned. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, more on the subject. Stay tuned.
In brand clarity, exactly what you're going to get is what it sounds like. Clarity for your brand. What is your color? What is your logo? What is your unique value proposition? Who are you speaking to? Why? How should you speak to them? How should I position myself? That's what you're going to learn in brand clarity. You need other people to have the same clarity on your brand that you do. But this is the gap. If you don't have clarity on your brand, then no one else is going to have clarity on your brand either. It's like messaging. Your message sounds clear to you, but is your end user receiving the value that you're trying to provide? I guarantee you that after you go through brand clarity, they will, and so will you. And that's how you'll scale your brand. When I think of brand you, I think of being your best self, your most authentic. The reason why we were able to crush business, absolutely dominate in business without having the marketing list, without having the email huge list, without having the Facebook ads and the advertising budget, without knowing the algorithm. The reason we were able to do this is because I branded myself. I told my authentic story and I was comfortable in my skin. Why? Because it was that time in the world where everything was shifting. It was 2020, March. So you remember what happened during that time. It was like the world was coming to an end. So you didn't have anything to hold back. So I chose to give everything that I had and be everything that I am. And because I was that, because I branded me, because I was authentic, everything shifted. And people wanted more. And they wanted to know more about me and how they could become more comfortable in their skin. Listen, guys, when you brand you and not what you do, you're going to add a zero to the world, but you'll also add a zero to your revenue. Let's grow.
All right, guys. So we are back. Welcome, welcome. This is Breakfast with the Brand, Bobby. So today we're talking about building $1 million brand. And I'm gonna kick off with the first step. So what is the first step? The first step is actually knowing who you are. Now we're gonna we're gonna do this, similar to a sort of like a Q&A, so to speak. So let me ask you, Bobby. I mean, you've been through literally almost all of our programs, right? Most of them. You were one who has experienced that growth firsthand. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how important would you say knowing yourself is as far as branding is concerned?
It's a 10 all day, Junior. It's a 10 all day because all of what did Sean say? He would say there's riches and niches. We stopped saying that word niches much. But back in 2020, 2021, that was the craze. That was the word. He said instead of going a mile wide, he would say go an inch wide and go a mile deep. But you can't go deep if you're not being yourself, right? Like if you're trying to be all of these different people, or you're trying to portray yourself as whatever is prevailing in the marketplace at the time, you'll find yourself running out of content, running out of money because you're trying to keep up, so to speak, with the Joneses, and then simply not being authentic. And authenticity marketing is one of the cornerstones of what we teach here, is being you, telling your origin brand story and allowing that story to connect with your audience. So for me, I would say it's a 10 because that's how I was able to build the business that created the 400% revenue growth year after year after year. And you can do the same thing. If you're watching this, like that's what we're going to be going over tonight, is kind of what that really looks like. So to answer your question in short, Junior, it's a 10 because once I found out who I was and took ownership of where I've been, in my life, my struggles, my triumphs, my obstacles, as well as my victories, I really realized that I was a pretty interesting person. And like you said yesterday, if you want people to be interested in you, it's really good to become interesting. And that's what one of the first steps of Branded Like a Leader was all about, was figuring out how to take who you are and make it as interesting as possible, because you do have a story and people want to hear about it.
It's true. And a theme that I've noticed over the years is like, and I wrote this down while you were speaking, the deeper you go, the higher you climb. So it's like the tallest buildings have the deepest foundations. So if you're building a brand, your question is, in fact, the question is, how high do you want to climb with your brand? If you want an okay brand, like just a regular brand, that's okay, not bad, but not phenomenal, then you don't have to go deep. But if you want a big brand, if you want a big, strong, powerful brand, then you have to go deep. Because as you know, Bobby, you cannot build like a skyscraper on like a little foundation. That's not possible. Even if you did build it, it would fall. Even if you did build it. And for me, knowing who you are is sort of like that foundational piece. And the more you know who you are, meaning the more you can do stuff like going into your brand origin story. You could know who the ideal client is. Like we did that phenomenal session inside the Branded Like a Leader Academy the other day, where we were able to help our members to find out specifically who that ideal client is. Like that was depth. That's about as deep as it can go.
Yeah.
Almost, right? So that level of depth allows you to climb higher and higher and higher. And that goes for so many things. When it comes to things like closing, like sales, is a spiritual game.
Yeah.
As Sean would say, sales is a spiritual game. I really believe that. And I've had a lot of interesting experiences that prove that, right? So the deeper you go, the higher you climb. If you want to build $1 million brand, I wholeheartedly believe that that is like literally one of the first steps.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's another thing, Junior. As entrepreneurs, a lot of times we don't know where to start, right? A lot of times we wait because we're afraid of the product not being good enough. We have this, there was this saying that Shaan would say. He would say, Done is better than perfect if perfect never gets done. And one of the things that I wanted to touch on as we talk about branding and the importance of your brand is a quote from the movie. I want to say the movie was Freedom Riders. Freedom Riders. And in that movie, one of the quotes was, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. And I thought that that was really interesting because that's what a brand is when you do it right. Our biggest fear sometimes as entrepreneurs is not that we're inadequate, not that we're incapable of producing what our market is looking for. Our deepest fear is that, how are we going to handle the success? And here's the tricky part. Here's the interesting part. We never look at it that way. We always look at the negative. We always, tend to be like, man, what if they don't like this? Or what if this doesn't hit the way I think it is? What if they don't buy it? Right? That's the thought process. When instead the thought process should be, especially when you're branded properly, should be, man, where am I going to put all this money? How am I going to get my taxes low? Because these guys are about to hit me over the head for all the money I'm about to make. And when you have the right perspective and you go about building your brand with a expert surgical approach, it's game over. It's really game over. So I just wanted to put that out there for the viewers that are on their way. They're on their journey. They're executing. They're crushing it, but they still feel like imposters. The imposter syndrome. They still feel like, man, maybe not, maybe not, maybe. Like that's they're on the fence. There is a system, a methodology, and it's called Branded Like a Leader. And that methodology is the one that I use to say, okay, who is Bobby Jackson? Bobby Jackson became Bobby Stealth. Bobby Stealth became the individual that was able to grow and scale a business at 400% revenue growth, retire the wife, buy the house, so on and so forth. You guys know the story. So I think it's really interesting where we're going with this, Junior, because you're right. The deeper we go, the higher we climb. And I think when you brand yourself properly, a lot of the fear goes away because you're just being you now. You're not trying to be what you think you're supposed to be, but you're showing up as who you really are. It's a game changer.
So the fear of success. That's actually something I have not heard for a little while, right? So Bobby, when I started closing, when I started doing sales, I used to get myself into situations where, I mean, you're having a conversation with a prospect, everything sounds right. You ask them, okay, does this suit your needs? Does this solve your problem? Is this within your budget? It's all yes, 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 yes. So it suits their needs. It's within the budget. They have time to do it. They're sure that the product can work for them. And then for some reason they used to not close, and I used to wonder why. So I think one day I literally just asked somebody. I said, no problem. Like, I respect your decision, like not to move forward and stuff, but I'm just curious why. Because I mean, you said that this is what you wanted, right? Yeah, this is what I need. This is gonna solve my problem. It's within my budget, etc., etc. So I'm just literally, I'm not. This is not like a tactic or anything. I just want to know why. Like, why didn't you move forward? And then they said something along the lines of they just didn't feel ready. Like, and what I gathered from what they said was that basically, if I become successful, there are a lot of things that have to change. So if I become successful, there are a lot of things that have to change. There are a lot of things that have to change for me to maintain that success that I may not necessarily, or I may not be ready to do. For example, you may have to maybe wake up, right, and work out every single day. You may not be able to go to the club. You may not be able to stay out late. There's a lot of things that you may not be able to do anymore when you step into that particular seat. It's almost like the people that some people will say, well, I don't think I'm ready for children. And then when you ask them why, then they may say something, well, like, that's a lot of responsibility. It's like they want kids, but they know kids are a lot of responsibility. So it's like, if I have a child, then I have to do X, Y, and Z, and I have to be responsible, and I have to stay up late, and they're going to keep me up, and I have to take them to school. And they start listing things and this and that and that and that and that. So it's like, if I become a successful business owner, now I have a team, now I have responsibility, now I have this, now I have that. And it starts to make them fearful of success. So there's fear of failure, but believe it or not, there's actually something called fear of success.
Yeah.
And in those moments, you have to help people to be courageous and to really and truly make a decision like, do you actually want success? If you don't want success, that's fine. So, for example, this webinar today, if you don't want success, if you're afraid of success, this webinar is not for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Back in the day, when I used to do copy, I used to write, warning, read this only if you want to be successful. And it's the same thing with this, with what we're doing today. If you want to build $1 million brand, come to the webinar. If you don't, if you're afraid of that, this is not for you. So fear of failure, fear of success, as much as it might seem like opposite, it's literally the same thing. It's still fear.
Yeah. Still fear, and one of the things that I think is really interesting is the idea that you're gonna ever be ready. Like the stars are gonna align. Like nowhere in the universe does it really look that way. And here's one thing that I started thinking about when people would say, I'm just not ready, or I may need a little more time. I asked them this question. I say, especially if they're under 50, under 60, under 45, right? I'll say something like this. I'll say, do you know who you're going to be when you're 60? Like when you were 10, did you know who you were going to be when you were 20? When you were 20, did you know who you were going to be when you were 30? When you were 20? And they'll normally say, no, I didn't know who I was going to be. And then I'll follow with the next question, like, well, did you stop aging? Did you just stop growing because you didn't know who you were going to be or what you were going to be or where you were going to be in 10 years? And they were like, no, I didn't stop aging. And then the question then says, okay, well, if you didn't know who you were going to be and you couldn't just stop yourself from aging until you knew who you were going to be, then reality says that time keeps going with you or without you. So you can be prepared to succeed or you can plummet and fail. So the question then becomes, do you believe that time is going to wait for you? And then they say, no, I don't believe that. And then I ask them then, well, what are you waiting for? And that is a very interesting series of questions. And I think it's a great series of questions because when you're building a brand, you're not going to know what it's going to look like. You're not going to know who or what the brand is going to be in 10 years. But what you do know is that if you don't start building a brand today, you're not going to be in an optimal position. I know right now that I'm 30, I'm in my 30s. But if I don't eat right, eat healthy, like I don't know who I'm going to be when I'm 60. But what I do know is that if I don't eat right, exercise regularly, stretch, and do all the things that I know I could do today, then I'm not going to be in an optimal position when I'm 60. It's just not going to happen. Like my body's not going to stop aging until I'm ready to take care of it. It just doesn't work that way. And the same thing is true in business. So my question for everybody that's watching this, everybody that's been watching us, because we go live every day, 6 days a week. My question to you is, what are you waiting for? And some of you are already doing business with different people, doing business with us. That's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you, what are you waiting for? If you're not building actively $1 million business, I'm not saying you got to be making $1 million right now, but if you don't have that goal set up somewhere that says, I'm going to make $1 million and this is the time that I'm giving myself to do it, like, why not? Like, why isn't that written down? Why isn't that put up there somewhere? If you know that that's where you want to go. And that's why a lot of people don't get where they're trying to go, because they don't map it out. They don't write it down, make it plain, get serious about it. Because unless you get serious about life, life will take you for a joke. I'll say that again. Unless you get serious about life, life will take you for a joke. There was a short poem that says, I bargained with life for a penny. And it gave me a penny. But it gave me a penny because that's all I bargained for. And they end the poem saying, had I bargained for $1, it would have given me $1. So I really enjoy branding, and I really enjoy what we do here at the brand, because this is where you bargain. This is where you say, you set pretty much your brand is the first step of negotiating the rest of your life. That may sound like a audacious statement, but think about it. Like your lessons are your legacy. That's what I talked about yesterday. That's what we discussed. Your lessons are your legacy. Your brand is nothing more than a combination of the lessons you've learned and execute on. The problem is, many of us have learned so many lessons in life, but we have yet to figure out how to take those lessons we've learned, turn them into a brand story, communicate that story to the marketplace, and extract value for our pain. And until you learn how to do that, you can have all the experience in the world, positive and negative, all the insights, all the experience, expertise, education. But if you don't know how to communicate this through a brand, then where's the money? Where is the transformation, or rather the transaction that comes from the transformation? So put a 1 in the chat if you've been evolving your whole life. Like if you started out as a little girl, a little boy, and you've been learning your whole life, growing your whole life, scaling inwardly your whole life, and you're ready to make $1 million brand, because you are a $1 billion person. And I believe that, but it's your decision, so to speak, to make that $1 million brand.
Bobby, one of my coaches used to say, don't take your money light, then wonder why your money light.
Yeah.
Don't take your money light, then wonder why your money light. So, I was listening to this book. Oh man, The Richest Man in Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the way that the author wrote it in like the old English language, right? So they used to say, what is the cure for a lean purse?
Yeah.
I always found that super funny, man. Like, guys, don't take your brand light and end up with a lean purse, okay? Don't take your brand light and end up with a lean purse. Like I was saying the other day, Bobby, AI, like, this is not even a joke. I know we're laughing, but this is not a joke. There are AI influencers that are literally making tens of thousands of dollars a month.
Yeah.
Let me say that. There are influencers that are not real. They're not real people. They don't have stories. They've not been through anything. They don't have an age. They don't have a physical location. They exist on the internet. There are people that are not real, okay, that are making tens of thousands of dollars, and we're just getting started.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine? We're in 2024. Can you imagine 2030? Just not in 2030. Let's go to 2026. Can you imagine that, Bobby? 2028.
Yeah.
Where there's AI influencers everywhere. There's an influencer who's a coach. There's one who's a speaker. There's one who's a this, one who's a that. Listen, if you don't get in the game, you will get left behind. I guarantee you that. It's
Yeah.
already happening. We're already seeing it. But right now you have the opportunity. It's not too late. It's not too late to get started, but you have to take action. And as you and I know, Bobby, there's only one level of action that works, that I've found to work, and that is massive action.
Yeah.
That is massive action. No action, either you take no action or you take massive action. But don't be in the middle where it's like, I want to build a brand, I'm not so sure. Let me take the first step. Let me wait now. And now's the right time. And maybe now is not the right time. And like don't straddle the fence. Okay? Don't straddle the fence. And funny enough, Bobby, I think in that book, The Richest Man in Babylon, one of the cures for a lean purse was recognizing opportunity.
Yeah.
Recognizing opportunity and not letting opportunity pass you by. This is an opportunity. The webinar is free. The only investment is your time. Okay? The only investment is your time. Full disclosure, like I said earlier this week, there will be an opportunity to join us inside the academy. But of course, it will be a preferred rate. But if you want to learn, just pick up new information at all about building your brand, you definitely want to be there. Whether you choose to enroll or not, the information is free, the opportunity is free, Don't let another opportunity pass you by.
You know, as you talk about opportunities, it brings me to three companies. Three companies. Well, two are a company, one is not. So Tesla, Netflix, and Bitcoin. Now,
Mm.
what all of these companies have in common is that they were dirt cheap at one point. They were so dirt cheap at one point, people thought they were going to fail. They're like, this stuff is like Bitcoin. Nobody's going to give you like fake money. Are you crazy? Tesla,
Mhm.
who would ever trade in their muscle car for a speedy electric car that they got to plug into a battery station? Like, who would ever do that? And then Netflix has a journey. Those that know Netflix, like its origin, they used to deliver seat like discs to your door. And and then you like milk. You guys remember the milkman, like the old school milkman? And when your milk used to be in a glass and you'd have to put it on the porch, they fill the thing up. Like that's how Netflix started with the movies. They used to get the movie, they would deliver the movie to your door, and then pick the movie up once you put it back outside. And now look at them, one of the biggest online networks. Now, what does all of these things have in common? Many of us, if not all of us watching this, had an opportunity to invest. Now, here is something that I've found about investing. Most times when we don't invest, it's because we don't understand. So, what I like to do for a good portion of this as we go through this is help build your understanding. Because a lot of times we just don't take action, not because we don't believe we should, but we don't understand why it matters. So when it comes to business, guys, when it comes to making $1 million brand, $1 million business, one of your most expensive expenses is marketing. Marketing, hands down. Because the one who wins in marketing wins in sales. Period. Period. So if you don't have the amount of customers that you want, it's probably because you're not executing effectively in the marketing. Now, what does this have to do with branding? What do you market if you don't have a brand? Think about that. No, like no Fortune 500 company that you know markets products. They market brands. They don't market products. Think about it. Like Apple doesn't market laptops. They market Apple. And everything that falls under Apple just so happens to be in alignment with Apple. They don't market search engines or optimization. They market Google, the ability to find anything, any place quickly. Amazon doesn't market all the different things it sells. It markets Amazon, the ability to get it fast, efficiently, and at the best price. So if you don't have a brand, do you have anything to market? And if you don't have anything to market, where are the leads coming from? And if you don't have an influx of leads, then who's buying? And if nobody's buying, then how are you going to get out of the 9 to 5 grind that you're fed up with? Or if you're retired and you're looking for the next step, the next thing to do, how are you going to make the massive impact in the world that you want to make if there's no income coming in to make the impact? So this portion that I'm sharing with you right now is just for understanding. It's like, okay, I know I got a product. I know I got passion. I know I got drive. I know there's pain out there that I can solve. And all of that stuff sounds great. And it is great. But without a brand to market, who knows about you? Where can they find you? Why should they trust you? And if they don't trust you, can't find you, and don't know who you are, guess what? The likelihood of them buying from you is closer to 0 than it is to 1. So, with that being said, Junior, is there any other way that you know that people can make sales without people to sell to?
That's a tough one.
I don't think it's
That's a
possible.
tough one. Man, I don't know. I don't know. Like if you, it's not possible. Like the first step in the sales process is prospecting. So I mean, even if you put me somewhere, let's say I'm from St. Lucia. Let's say you put me somewhere in the middle of New York or some other state where I don't know anybody, and I have to sell something. I still have to go and prospect. The first step would be, okay, I need to prospect. Where do I prospect? Who's my ideal client? Where do I find them? How do I get there? How do I talk to them? How do I make the connection? I still have to prospect.
Mhm.
So the first step of the sales process is actually finding those customers. If you have nobody to sell, then it's not possible to sell.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just not. It's like a law of gravity. It just doesn't. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna
Right.
happen.
And that, guys, is why we opened up the way we did this morning with building $1 million brand. Because check it out. If you build $1 million brand, like just the brand alone, we didn't even say $1 million business, like the brand alone. You know, if you build $1 million brand, meaning when people see you, they trust you, they like what you're doing, they have morals, values, and principles that align with yours, and it's clean. The brand looks good. It communicates effectively. The messaging is clear. Like, those are the components of $1 million brand. Like, if you just had $1 million brand, you could do something that a lot of people want to do but don't know how to do. And that is sell high ticket. Now, when we say sell high ticket, we don't just mean sales, and we don't just mean, high prices. What we mean is not having to sell 100 things for $100. Very few people I know want to do that. Most people are leaving their 9-to-5s because they don't have enough time to spend with their families. They don't have enough money at the end of the month after they've paid all of their bills and stuff, and they want to do more. They want to be more. They want to have more. But I'll tell you this, if you're selling 100 things for $100, you're going to find yourself in a very similar position as a 9-to-5. You're going to have a lot of clients and customers, so to speak, but they all need to be fulfilled. And then if you build a business around having that level of volume, then you have to keep that level coming in because of churn, simply meaning that every customer that comes in is not going to stay. That's just probability and numbers. So the reality is, we don't just want to build phenomenal businesses, but we want to build phenomenal businesses that we enjoy running. And that's what the $1 million brand does. It brands you in such a way that the brand does the heavy lifting. If the brand isn't present, then guess who does the heavy lifting? That's right, you do. You go out there breaking your back, bending over, chopping rocks and all this stuff. And chopping rocks is just a way of thinking, like putting you in perspective. Like, think back to if you were an indentured servant or something. Like, you're just working, and they're promising you your freedom. They're saying, if you work this many years, you'll be free. And by the time you get free, your back's broken, your hands are all frayed up, your neck doesn't do what it used to. You're just like, man, like, I'm free now, but I've beaten myself up so much I can't enjoy my freedom. Don't do that to yourself. Build a brand, build it right, and enjoy your freedom.
That's crazy, Bobby. But yeah, I agree. I mean, it's all about leverage. Brand provides you with leverage, to put it in a very, very simple way. So like Bobby was saying, you don't have to do all of the heavy lifting. People come to you pre-closed when you have a good brand. So Bobby, after having worked with literally hundreds of entrepreneurs, they always say that they need two things. There's always two things that they tell me they need. Number one is I need more clients. Number two, I need better systems. Number one, I need more clients. Number two, I need better systems. So they need a better CRM. They need a better, phone dialing system. They need better systems overall. The brand solves the first problem. And if you do it right, it can solve the second one. So the brand helps you to find more people that are higher value for your business so that you can reach out, you can connect with them, you could grow with them, you could introduce them to your brand, you could sell them, you could add them to your community, etc., etc. And the sales process becomes a lot easier once you have a brand. That's the whole point of it. Okay, so guys, we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, more on branding. But if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. We'll be taking them when we come back. Right.
I said Shaan right east. I'm proud. I said Shaan right east. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Shaan, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes. So when you're young, mommy tells you to play nice. Play nice, Timmy. Let all of the other kids play too. But in business, it's not about playing nice. In business, it's about winning. It's about adding multiple zeros to your revenue. Now, of course, your staff wins. And when you win, other people win. However, when it comes to competition, you absolutely must dominate. You can't play for participation, and you can't play just to get along or just to get by, because business is serious. Business will help you to change the world, or the world will change you. Your people will either win or your people will lose based on your level of leadership, what you're willing to do, what you're willing to sacrifice, and how much you know about dominating.
All right, guys, so we are back and we've been dissecting the keys to building $1 million brand. Bobby, we've said quite a bit. Now, when it comes to building $1 million brand, it takes time. Now, there's a lot of technical stuff we can get into. I didn't really want to make it a technical conversation this morning. I mean, there's so many things we could get into, how to develop products, how to close deals, stuff like that. All of that stuff will be discussed tonight on the webinar. I didn't want to give away too much in terms of too much technical things, but I do want us to talk about the product just a little bit, So Shaan got to $1 million using a product called Brand Like a Leader, which is obviously the product that we're talking about right now. And there was a specific process he went through that I want us to talk about for a little while. So in business, it said that business is simple. You give people what they want, when they want it, how they want it, in the style that they want it at a reasonable price. What I've seen most entrepreneurs do is that they give people what they want, meaning what the entrepreneur wants, not what the audience wants. They create something that they want and they just give it to people, right? Not in the form that they want, not in the style that they want. Sometimes at reasonable prices, but it doesn't really matter if it's not what they want at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So for you, what has been your experience? Because I mean, you've been in the game, you've developed products and stuff like that. Did you take a evidence-based, sort of research-based approach when you were developing your products for your business? Did you take that approach, or did you just maybe just put something out there and people bought it? What was your process like?
Yeah, so let me be honest with you guys. Disclaimer. My college background is entrepreneurship. So I went to college not for business administration, but for entrepreneurship. So yes, I did take a technical approach, but let me tell you guys how I did it, because it was branded like a leader that made it successful for me. Like what you learn in school and what I learned in school was theory. And theory is cute, it's good. It's good to know. But if it doesn't make money, then it's not really going to change anything for anyone financially. So for me, I did what Shaan talks about. He says, serve, and you'll get what you deserve. So when I built my product, I went to the marketplace and I just served. My first product did not cost anything. Shaan brought me in 4 years ago into what was then the 4 a.m. alien call. And what that was Shaan going live at 4 a.m. every morning on Wednesday. My first program was a 4 a.m. call on like Tuesday for free. And it was an 8-week course with a John Doe. And after 8 weeks, the goal was obviously to serve, and obviously get paid. I did not get paid. I did not get paid. But what did I get? Like, guess what I got? Like, put it in the chat. What do you think I got? If I didn't get paid, but I got something more valuable than money.
Bobby, by the way, I'm going to not counter, but I'm going to argue that you did get paid, and I'll tell you how.
I did, just not in money. I got paid. So I don't see you guys in the chat just yet, but for the sake of time, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys. I got feedback, and feedback was more valuable at the time than money, because I was probably going to charge that guy maybe $1,000 for a program because I was new. I was just getting into space. What he gave me in valuable feedback about my coaching methodology, about my business approach in the sense of how he was onboarded, how he was communicated with, what his pain points were, what his experience was like, all of that was invaluable. So to answer your question in short, Junior, the way I built my products was by serving people for free and taking the feedback that they gave me and turning it into a concrete framework. And then as I got more success with the framework, this concept is called proof of concept. So at first I had an idea, but it wasn't viable yet. But more feedback I got, the more viable the product became. So that's how I got started. I gave for free and I got feedback, and I turned that feedback into a framework.
Yeah, and that's actually how I got started as well, Bobby. That's exactly how I got started. I got into a group. Like, I was when I got started, I was just taking like one step at a time. I didn't know what to do. I just knew I had to do something. So I paid some money. So check this out. Here's the formula. I invested what I had. People tell me all the time, I don't have the money. I didn't have money either. Trust me, I didn't have money either. I come from a country where the US dollar is almost 3 times. So $1 is almost $3. $1 to you, Bob, is almost $3 to me.
Man.
So I invested everything I had. The little that I had, I invested it. And then when I got into the group, I said, okay, now I'm here. What do I do? This is before I met Shaan. This is before I met the community. I didn't know anybody online. I didn't know anybody. Okay. I was just out here on my own, just doing my thing. And I said, okay, now I'm here. What do I do next? And then I said, well, okay, well, let me see if anybody needs some help. And I just help people. I say, okay, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. How many of you would like to get some copy done? And people just started popping up. And from that experience, I was able to work with people literally from all around the world. In fact, one person, the person who gave me my first testimonial was actually from Sweden, funny enough. Then I work with people from California, then Argentina, then France, literally all around the world, UK, Canada. But it all started from just working for free. But most importantly, investing in myself. Now, there's a saying, Bobby, people with time don't have no money, and people with money don't have no time.
Yeah.
Now, that can be true, but it can also be false as well. The point is, if you have the money, you should be on this webinar tonight. If you don't have the money, you should still be on the webinar tonight. It does not matter. It doesn't matter if you have the money or not. This is free. Okay, this is one step forward. This is you making the initial investment of your time and your effort. You put in time and you put in effort into something that you want to see grow. Okay, so this is literally your first step. If you're serious, if you're interested and you're serious, then I'll see you this evening. I'll see you tonight.
My goodness, Junior, I cannot believe it's like 8:55. I cannot
Mhm.
believe it, because there's so much more I want to give you guys, but for the sake of time, I'm gonna chop it up. Like, I'm gonna give it to you guys. Like, if this has been good so far, put some flames in the chat. Like, I need to know how you guys have received this, because we're really talking about the brand, the essence of the lead generation mechanism in your business. And if that's kind of going over your head, I want to bring it back down to earth. If it's hitting and you're understanding and you're like, okay, I get it now, put the flames in the chat. But definitely let us know where you're at. Do you get it? Do you understand? Are you walking with us, picking up what we're putting down? Right? So here's what I want to leave you guys with from my side of the house. There are no overnight successes, but there is overnight progress. If you're taking notes, write that down. There is no overnight success, but there is overnight progress. And that's the part that we have always achieved. We've sought to achieve that every time we did a live. So we used to do the fireside chats like every other Saturday. We used to do the alien call Wednesday 4 a.m. We used to do the 5 p.m. live deep dive at 5, something like that. Leadership live deep dive at 5. We used to do that, and like the whole goal of all of those calls was to give people overnight progress. Because if you do this right, trust me, I guarantee this. If you show up and you learn something that you did not know, and it's true, you're going to be moving further in the right direction than you are right now. It's impossible for you to learn something that you did not know that is true, and you implement on it and be in the same position you were before you came. It's absolutely impossible. It's mathematical. Like, you cannot add truth, execute on truth, and not get an addition to your execution and results. So don't just come to this call thinking that, oh, I'm about to, make a purchase. If you do, great. If you don't, great. Come to the call thinking that if there's something I don't know that they know, and they're willing to give it to me, and I can execute on it to get forward progress, there's no logical reason why I should not carve out 60 minutes to get that information. Like, that right there is one of the cornerstones. And again, my educational background is in entrepreneurship. So I want to share this with you guys before I give it back to Junior to kind of close us out here. The feedback is more important than the fee paid in the early days. So you have something called early adopters. And early adopters are the people that are willing to pay for your product before the product is fleshed out. And those early adopters give you what's called feedback. What we're giving you tonight is curated and pretty much boxed up, presented. What's the word I'm looking for? We're taking years of feedback and we've packaged it for you. And we've pulled all of the fluff out of it, and we've made it super lean. And you're able to take years of feedback and leverage it for yourself in less than 60 minutes. So that's what I wanted to share, because that's really what you're coming for. You're coming to get other people's feedback so that you can leverage their wisdom and get results.
Definitely, Bobby. I think you summed it up pretty concisely. So there's not much for me to say. The only thing I will say is, like I said before, the only cost of investment is your time. So if you're serious, if you're interested and you're serious about taking your brand to the next level, if you want to build a seven-figure brand, obviously the best way to go about doing that is to learn from somebody who has done that themselves, right? So you wouldn't go to somebody necessarily to help you train in the gym if they themselves had never trained in the gym. It's like you wouldn't go to somebody to teach you how to box if they themselves had never boxed. You don't go to somebody to teach you how to build $1 million business if they've never done it themselves, because they don't know how. So if you're in that space where you want to build $1 million brand, then it's pretty simple. You have to learn from somebody or from people who have gone where you would like to go. And that opportunity is here for you tonight. So tonight, 7 p.m. EST, you can go ahead and register for free. We're gonna wrap this up, but I'm gonna leave this banner up for a little while just to let it go. Okay, so you can see the link, and then you could type that into your browser and register. And by the way, you could also go to www.shawnrice.com, fill out the contact us form. You'll be entered directly onto our email list, and then you will get the email notifications. In fact, I think that's the best thing for you to do. So you do get the email notifications. Join our email list. All right. So join our mailing list, and you will be getting those reminders sent straight to your inbox. Apart from that, Bobby, it's another Friday. We do have another show tomorrow. So tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Bobby and I will be back. So thank you so much for joining us today. Hope you have a phenomenal Friday, and let's grow.